Good morning, and thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study of the prophet Micah as part of our larger study of the minor prophets. And we're going to get into the text of Micah today. Micah, as we remember, is a prophet who prophesied at a time when Isaiah was also prophesying. I think he probably is prophesying just a little earlier. I tend to think that he's the influence on Isaiah instead of vice versa, but that's debatable. He's prophesying at a time, as he tells us, during Jotham, Ahaz, and particularly Hezekiah, at a time when the Assyrians have conquered the northern kingdom, hauled them into captivity. The Assyrians then went on to conquer nearly all of the southern kingdom, got to the very gates of Jerusalem, before God sent an angel and destroyed their army of 250,000 people, something that he clearly refers to, the prophet does in the text today. We're in Micah chapter 1, and in Micah chapter 1, Micah describes God coming down to earth to call his people into court for their sins. He says in verses 2 and 3, "Hear, peoples, all of you, listen, O earth, and all it contains, and let the Lord God be a witness against you, the Lord from his holy temple. For behold, the Lord is coming forth from his place. He will come down and tread on the high places of the earth." And of course, when he does, the earth can't bear it, which is being described in verse 4 and in verse 5. As he mentions in verse 1, God has dealings of judgment with Samaria and Jerusalem. Samaria being the capital city of the northern kingdom, and Jerusalem being the capital city of the southern kingdom. And he says in verses 6 and 7, he is going to make Samaria a heap of ruins in the open country, which he did whenever the northern kingdom was taken into captivity by the Assyrians. He does this because she has prostituted herself, which he makes clear in verse 7. She has betrayed her covenant with the Lord. Judah's sins, the southern kingdom's sins, are a bit different at this point in their history, which we'll talk about tomorrow when he starts to elaborate on those sins in chapter 2. And then he goes on in verse 8 to talk about how he will wail and lament. He will wail and lament because this is going to include Jerusalem and Judah as well, verse 9. Because the sickness of the northern kingdom has extended to the southern kingdom. They've caught it like a virus. And in the rest of the chapter, he tells the people, they're going to mourn, that this destruction is coming to the very gate of Jerusalem, verse 12, which it did, which we read about in 2 Kings and also in the book of Isaiah. And he tells them that their children are going to be carried off into captivity as well. And of course, this captivity will be by the Babylonians, and it will be, about 100 years after this. But the die, in a sense, is cast in terms of their history. And in verse 16, he says, "Make yourself bald and cut off your hair, because of the children of your delight. Extend your baldness like the eagle. They will go from you into exile." Future generations are going to go into exile. A bald eagle, maybe. Probably a vulture with its head covered in skin, not in feathers. Quite a vivid image. And then in chapter 2, he talks about why the southern kingdom is going into judgment. Now, during Hezekiah's reign, the people were not an idolatrous people. In fact, 2 Kings and the Chronicles as well make clear that really, even compared to David, Hezekiah's reign was the freest from idolatry of any reign of any of the kings that the Israelites had. And so their sins are not the same sins that the northern kingdom is carried into exile for. Not yet. They will be after Hezekiah's death and during the reign of Manasseh. Right now, their sins are the sins that the northern kingdom was prosecuted for in the prophet Amos, the sins of social injustice, which he makes clear in chapter 2. Woe to those who scheme iniquity, who work out evil on their beds. When morning comes, then they do it. For it is in their power, in the power of their hands to do so. They covet fields and seize them, and houses and take them away. They rob a man and his house, a man and his inheritance. Thus, says the Lord, I'm planning against this family a calamity from which you cannot remove your necks. So it is the social injustice which he continues to detail in chapter 2, that they will be prosecuted for, that they will be punished for. We'll go ahead and read verses 9 through 11. The women of my people you evict, each one from her pleasant house. From her children you take my splendor forever. Arise and go. This is no place of rest, because of the uncleanness that brings on destruction, a painful destruction. If a man walking after the wind and falsehood had told lies and said, I will speak to you concerning wine and liquor, he would be a spokesman to this people. Times are good, the rich are getting richer, the people in power are satisfied, and they want their ears tickled, and they want lessons of prosperity. But there will be no prosperity for this or future generations, not in the near future. But, verses 12 and 13, let the children of Israel know that in the future there will be a deliverance, there will be a shepherd Messiah, which will be sent. Okay, so next time we are together, we are going to look at the condemnation of the people's leaders that the prophet brings on behalf of the Lord. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.